right, here we go. Um, yeah, I'm doing this a little differently. uh, so I'm doing a different reading tonight, not doing a prediction so much, although I may do a little reading prediction related later, but um, I just kind of wanted to, I don't know, I guess I feel like a lot of people have been having a lot of stress lately, and not just, it seems like a lot of people I know have been experiencing a lot of stress, and I'm trying to understand this stressful moment that we seem to have entered, and what's going on with the world and how it's reflected, as above, so below, as within, so without. That what is reflected within our personal lives amplifies and affects the larger stage of the world as well. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to do a reading looking at that, and just kind of address the feeling of this moment. And I think it's manifesting in the world in a lot of different ways. China's opening, Brazil's having issues, Ukraine war continuing, of course, but all these other things. But there's like a lot of times when there is this high level of stress, I think it like indicates that like it can be like a preamble, like before a birth of something larger that's even more powerful, and a new paradigm or something is emerging. So it can be very stressful, but it's not forever, and it's clearly an indication of something happening in the global sphere and the personal sphere, this heightened level of stress. So let's take a look just at this moment right now, the present moment. Not 5 minutes ago, not 5 minutes from now, but right now, the present moment. For anyone watching this live, I don't think anyone's watching this live yet, but if anyone does show up soon, then we'll be experiencing this moment together. But if you're watching this later, that's fine too, because you're in your own present moment. It's interesting how you can look at your former selves and you can imagine your future selves, and you feel this sense of continuity, but in a sense, they're kind of like different people, in that sometimes you can understand why they did what they did and why they are the way they are, but sometimes you can't, and sometimes they do things that are inexplicable to you. But I think the best way of dealing with them, I think, our past and future selves are kind of like a gateway test or something for how we perceive other people. We can only relate. I mean, we relate to our previous selves as like a sense of us, but they also have differences about them. So I think it's sort of like preparation for other people and how we perceive them. Some people look at their past and future selves and they feel extremely alienated by them, and they can have like this cognitive dissonance about it. But I think it's, I don't know if it's healthy or how I would describe it, but it seems beneficial, I guess, overall, to, have a sense of compassion and unity for your previous and future selves as this thing that is out there that is part of you, but also kind of like, our bodies are cellular composed of millions of cells, but those cells are acting in unison under a guiding principle. All right, so the present moment. That was just a bit of a tangent. Present moment. I haven't been doing many readings lately, just because maybe, I felt a little stressed lately. Yeah, I would say I've felt more stressed than usual, but it seems like other people I know are experiencing much more stress than me, and I don't feel as tortured by this moment as some people that I know are feeling. And oh, we have our first comment, Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Oh, you know what? I think I forgot to. Let me see if I put on the captions. I remember that you asked about the captions. Let's see if I can. I don't know if it'll let me. You know what? I think I have to turn them on before the stream starts. I apologize. I've been meaning to keep turning those on. Shoot. Well, I apologize, like I said. I hope you can understand me. I remember that just after when you showed up again. But yeah, Happy New Year. Welcome. I will continue, and yeah, unfortunately, it will not let me while I'm doing it turn on the captions. So after the fact, though, this should be once it's stored, it should be able to view with captions. So yeah, so right now I'm just doing a general reading for this present moment. I've been talking about how a lot of people seems to be experiencing a lot of stress lately. Let me just ask in the chat: are people experiencing more stress than usual right now? I'm curious. Maybe people aren't. Maybe it's just my reality tunnel. But I'd like to hear people chime in. Mm-hmm. Oh, excellent. Yeah. I actually meant to do that though. My plan going forward is to turn on the live chat, closed caption. I did notice though when I was doing it before that the captions are not always very accurate, but I hope still I'd like to turn them on just to have them available to as many people as possible. Of course, I always want to reach as many people as possible. So I really appreciate you pointing that out, and then also, yeah, I'll try to do my part to keep up the end of the bargain. So I'm going to begin by looking at the present moment, the general energy of this moment. And okay, there it comes. You know what? This doesn't surprise me at all. So this is kind of this is a very stressful card. This is about, so I see a comment. I think I could think it'd be, yeah. I mean, I don't, I'm not an astrologer in that sense. So I'm familiar somewhat with the terminology of that, but I'm more of an energy reader. So I think I try to understand things in terms of not necessarily why, but just seeing the energy that is behind them and seeing the overall patterns. Because this card is definitely a stressful moment in which people feel a lot of anguish, a lot of despair. We are approaching the 1 year mark of the Ukraine war. That's another thing. So I think people, after a year cycle of anything, they kind of can feel a sense of despair, but also the troubles in Brazil, a large country like that having challenges. But I think what a lot of people do with this card is they kind of see this energy and they want to run from it. And I think that doesn't always help, because it kind of it locks you into this mode even more, because that's what these people are doing. They're running away from things rather than pausing to experience them and just being the witness. So I think the key mode in this situation and the general pattern for meditation is to, just witness things, witness your breathing, witness your body and your thoughts, and not judge them and not try to push on them or run away from them, just to witness them. That's the first step. And so I think I'm going to take a second. I'm going to close my eyes and just kind of meditate on this energy for a second. For that. Yeah. So, I mean, the reason I'm doing this reading is because I've just felt it. And a lot of people I know right now are in very stressful situations. And that's to be expected. It's what I was talking earlier about the saying, as above, so below, as within, so without. These things mirror and they amplify when a lot of people experience them. And it's an ascending current from within us, and it's also a descending current from without. And so it doesn't surprise me that this came out. But I'm going to take a second and I'm just going to pause, and I encourage you to do the same. I'm going to put the card down in a minute, but actually, no, I'll hold it up and close my eyes because I'm not doing a deep meditation. I'm just going to hold it up and allow you to, if you want, you can open your eyes and look at it, or you can close your eyes and just hold the image for a second and try and feel the energy and not judge it and just experience it. Because behind this imagery is just the preamble or the preparation for the actual energy, which is beyond any images or words. So let's just take a second and experience that energy. All right. Apologies, by the way, for the slight noise. There's noises from the hall, but I wanted to work in here in this room, and it's a little noisier, but it's okay. We'll deal with it. All right. So when I was doing feeling the energy behind that, it's such a quiet energy and it's like the stillness of a cemetery almost, and it has this kind of hollowed out feeling, and it's such a low energy. It's like when you're in that position, it's hard to even want to try to change or do anything. It's a very depressed state, and I'm fortunate that I don't feel like that energy. I'm able to see it in other people right now. I did a pretty deep meditation today, and yeah, but it's when you see it in others, you want to help and you want to be able to act and offer them some assistance. But sometimes all you can do is you just either listen to it or experience it and witness it and have a sense of compassion about it, because bringing that energy into the world, your energy is, as a witness, is very important. So yeah, I'm going to look next at like the kind of the next stage or step that we can expect. Oh, excellent, Lisa. Thanks. Yeah, I think you're the only one here right now, and that's fine because people watch these later either way. But I'm glad you're here, and if anyone else shows up, if not, no worries. Because, I didn't announce this live at all. I just wanted to get on and kind of approach this energy. It felt very urgent that I do so. So I wanted to be here, and here we are. So I'm going to look next at sort of a way that we can transition out of this energy. Like what is the next step that is the least, I guess the step that we need to take next, that all of us need to transition into to move away from that energy, because that energy is such a deflated feeling. It came up in one of the horoscopes, I think, for this month. And a lot of times when it does show up in one person's life, it can just like spread into the whole landscape of things. I'm going to keep that card out though. So let's see. So here again is that card. And this is the Five of Pentacles, which is, it's very grounded in the physical processes of the world. My intuition would be that to move out of it, we need to not use a Pentacles card, because as much as I appreciate Pentacles and I consider myself the King of Pentacles in a sense, that's the card that I identify with the most. I think it's not like, usually with this card, you want to have more of a spiritual, emotional bond with others. That's the solution to this feeling. So I'm going to see though, what the suggestion that I see coming up for the energy that we can use to move. Again, not moving out of it in a way that's like fleeing from it, but when the time is right, we can move forward and start looking at it. I think, just by seeing it, being aware of it in the past, that's the thing, is when you witness something right away, you're recognizing it, that it's the past. So it's not forcing yourself away from it. It's just by seeing it and so that's a powerful thing. I think people who don't meditate a lot, they think like, you're just closing your eyes and doing nothing. What's the point of doing that? And aside from the physical benefits, the rest to your brain of just shutting your eyes, that uses so much less brain like power to and energy, that allows your brain to rest. So the brain needs rest. It needs sleep. It needs naps. It needs even just closing your eyes. That's rest. And meditation is a very deep type of rest that really allows the brain to solidify its memories and to grow. So don't underestimate the power of witnessing. Yeah. So let's see what the next step is as we move forward. We're only about a week into this year, but this energy of this has come up like so quickly. And it wasn't here just before the New Year's. This has happened since the New Year's. And I mean, the seeds were there, but I think, the energy has definitely come to the surface in the last week or so. So I'm getting a lot of near cards that are nearly coming out, but nothing has come up what I call like a clean jump. Actually, no, I keep seeing ones. I'm not. One of my favorite expressions or ideas, and I'm not sure I created it, but I think I put it together in this way, is that all moments affect all moments, and that the past affects the future, but the future also affects the past. So the card that came up was actually a Pentacles card, which is interesting. But this Pentacles card has a very different energy from this. This is a very card about just being in your work, being in your occupation, and not wallowing. I think this energy is kind of moving away from a traditional practical approach for a Pentacle card. And Pentacles usually are about dealing with real life situations, the nuts and bolts of things. And when you start to step out of it and you kind of see things as how you imagine them, and how you're kind of fleeing from the Pentacles energy without having a strong base in any other energy. It's just this hollowed out place. If you're familiar with the Tree of Life, there's actually a position to this very hollowed out energy that I won't go into the depths of it. But Hermetic Kabbalah has a lot of fascinating things about this. And I'd like to talk about Hermetic Kabbalah in the future. I will, I think, but not today. It's a pretty deep and heavy subject. But yeah, so this card is sort of taking a step back from that hollowed out place to just find your work and your true livelihood for what it is that you like to do, to produce, what you like to actively produce in this world. For me, I love making videos, music, and things like that. So I think we're not entering, we've been in this age for a while of psychic energies that are suddenly available. Everybody on the planet, no, not everybody, but a lot more people than 50 years ago are able to share their energy, their psychic energy with the world in a very immediate and real way. That's what I'm doing right now. And you can do it too. Anyone can do it. And you have to be, so I'm not saying that this is your work. I'm saying that this is what a lot of people though are doing nowadays with all these social media platforms and Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everything else. There's more than you can keep track of nowadays. And the point is though that when we so like when a lot of people are doing that, it affects the sway of, you know, the vibe, the zeitgeist of the world very quickly, and moods act like waves that just shift through the planet in seconds. And we talk about the news cycle. That's like the old top-down metaphor for this process, but nowadays it's just as easily bottom up. Lisa, you have a comment? Do you think Pentacle cards are showing up because many countries want to free themselves from the U.S. petrodollar currency system? You know, there's a million reasons why, but I think what I'm talking about, is less about any specific government or any specific system. This is more about because I like to think about like when I kind of if you walk around wherever you're at in the street or in, I don't know, there's a lot of malls here in Malaysia, so I walk around malls a lot. But I think about like, because malls are very commercial places, but I like to imagine like, what if there was no money? There was just these people doing things and behaving in certain ways, and just there wasn't any money. There was just this code that lives in their heads that explains to them. I don't want to say it controls them, but it certainly influences how they behave, where they are, and how they spend their time. And I think for the most part, a lot of them don't, they're not doing what they would do if there was no such thing as money. That they're letting this code define who they are in a very real sense. So I think this card is about finding the energy of who you are and being that energy, rather than allowing the system to define you. And I think we all allow the system to define us because we all have bills to pay. We all have, things like that. We have things to respond to. But I think when that's like your primary definition of who you are, it can like suck the life out of you. And so when there are financial problems, as a lot of the countries of the world are experiencing in the last year or two, then it doesn't leave you much to build from or to thrive from. So I think the solution, like I said, is to find your true energy, find your true self, your true personhood of who you are, and be that person regardless of the cage of whether you have a job you don't like, or you have bills that you have to pay, or you have a situation that's not ideal. Work with who you are, because I talked earlier about how this, where I'm filming right now, isn't ideal situation, but this is who I am. This is what I want to do at this time, this moment. So here I am. And I think we can all do that to a large degree and start moving towards more and more like making the outer world of our out exterior lives match our inner world of who we are. So I'm going to take a step back and look at the energy for a few of the areas I mentioned earlier, Brazil and Ukraine, and maybe I'll look at China too, because that's kind of another big energy shift, is China opening up. So I'm going to start with Brazil though, because that's so this isn't a prediction. This is just the current energy of this moment with Brazil, because they have a lot of internal strife, and that leads to a lot of stress. Definitely, everybody in Brazil, I'm sure, is stressed when something like that happens, just as it was. I mean, the similarities and the way it matched the similarities with the U.S. situation in 2021 is just so similar in a lot of ways. So it's these things recur in time, the patterns recur. That's what the tarot is all about, is patterns. And yeah, so let's look at Brazil. All right. So with Brazil, I'm seeing a sword card, a Six of Swords. And this card is, this is a card about moving forward, and that's the energy I'm feeling with this, is the transition to the new president and so on. Oh yeah, Sri Lanka. Maybe I can look at them too. Yeah, they've had a lot of problems in the last several months. I think, I always love it when you guys bring up news things, because, I pick what I think is, relevant or whatever, and I try to look at a lot of different news sources, but ultimately, like, we all have filter bubbles, so I love it when you guys bring up topics for me to address. So yeah, so I'm gonna just take a second though and feel this energy with you're welcome to do the same. I encourage you to, and just close your eyes and relax and breathe. When I meditate, I usually just pay attention to my breathing and breathe from the belly and slow it down, slower, deeper, quieter, and more regular. All right, I'm feeling the energy from Brazil with this card, and I feel like the worst of the strife within Brazil is passing. So I think they are moving forward. I am feeling an energy that is moving forward with this. So I'm not as concerned about that as I initially was when I first started hearing about it. But let's take a look at. I guess I'll look briefly at the Ukraine war situation. So the card that came out was the Hangman. So the Hangman often comes up in these moments of suspension outside of time. I should also mention what I've been thinking about a lot lately with magic is I've been rereading a book that I read first when I was a teenager many years ago. It's a graphic novel, From Hell, and I'm not necessarily recommending it. It's a very graphic novel, very horrific book about the Jack the Ripper murders, and it's fiction, but it's a theory, and it's a fascinating story, and there's a lot in it about magic, about eternalism, and a very powerful magic book that if you're interested in magic and fiction and horror, I recommend it. But if you don't like graphic don't check it out if you can't stand graphic violence. And it's a very powerful book though, and I've it's brought up a lot of memories and ideas with me as I've reread it. And yeah, I just have to say that like it's one of the most powerful magic fictions that I've read. So anyways, but the hangman is a situation that when you step outside of time, it can see the larger picture of the moment. And with the Ukraine war, the hangman is very powerful. It's an epiphany, and you can't like ignore it. So and usually it means that something is going to change, because like we've been talking about the witness. When you see something, when you can see it from the outside, as the hangman does, because he or she steps out of time and space and sees the larger continuum of things, that is what allows things to move forward, is this transcendence of the ego and the individual, and very powerful thing. So I think I've talked about February, March seems like a moment in this Ukraine situation when there's a big shift in energy. Feel free to let me know. What is your favorite book, Lisa? I'm always curious what people are interested in. Do tell. Yeah, I love to read, and yeah, I talk more about books on my other channel, but sometimes they bleed over here. So yeah, if you guys ever, I'm always curious about book recommendations and things that crop up, ideas that crop up, because to me, the comments and the videos that I have they're a kind of book for me. It's sort of a reflective macrocosm in which the voices out there influence me, and I kind of respond to them. So it's Shogun. Oh, you know what? I've seen the TV series Shogun, but I have not read the book. So I liked the series quite a bit, and I remember I must have watched it. It's got to be at least 10 years ago or something, but I remember it very well. Yeah, I love. I remember it's in Japan, and I think they filmed it in Japan too, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I've not read it, but I'm glad that you're recommending it. Maybe if I have time, I usually don't have a lot of time for a lot of novels. The only reason I'm reading this graphic novel is because I can read it so quickly. Even though it's like a 500-page graphic novel, it's comic format, so I go through a lot faster. And I remember Shogun's a pretty thick book, so I would like to read it, but I just don't know at what point that'll happen. But yeah, thank you very much for the recommendation. Yeah. I don't know if I've mentioned, but I'll be in Japan in end of February, March, somewhere. I think early March. I'm going to be there for 3 months. So expect maybe a Japanese flavor to my tarot readings. Perhaps, probably not, but who knows. All right, so so that hangman energy, I think we're in a very transitional moment. The beginning of this year with the Ukraine war, something's going to shift, and So I'm going to look next at China, the opening of China, and what that means for the world. A lot of Chinese people coming out, a lot of non-Chinese people going into China, and that brings a lot of different information, a lot of different memes. The word meme has kind of been abused in modern internet to mean just these like images that are manipulated, but the original usage was any unit of information that can be transmitted through whatever means, through art, through language. Richard Dawkins coined it, but it's a powerful idea. It's hard to say what is a meme. Like, is it an actual physical thing? Because there's no physical transfer, but there seems to be like these these connections in the brain that happen and that lock in. And it can be words, it can be art, it can be anything that can be encapsulated in a moment, in a memory, is a meme. So, what was I talking about? So, I think the shift that we're experiencing comes through memes. This is how we transmit psychic energy, and it's not something we can really pinpoint like a gene. It's not something we can point to physically, but it is a thing still just as real, just like ideas are things that we can't point to, but they're very powerful and they shift how people behave and how things happen. So I'm going to look next at China, like I said. Oh, I think you would like Shogun. Read about ancient Japan while you immerse yourself in modern Japan. Yeah, I would definitely like to read it, and that's a great idea. Maybe I should read it while I'm in Japan. Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder if it has, because I tend to not read in English a lot of times because I'm trying to improve my other languages. So I tend to read more in Spanish or French and Italian. I can read pretty good in all three of those, and so I tend to shy away from reading in English, but I do read in English, obviously. And yeah, if I maybe I, like on the plane or something between Thailand and Japan, and do I have a layover? No, I don't think I do. I think I'm direct flight. I think that sounds right, from Thailand to Japan. So yeah, but that'll be a few months. Right now, I'm still in Malaysia, and I'll be here, and then I'll be going to Thailand on February 2nd. And yeah. So anyways, I think the final thing I'm gonna look at tonight is China, like I said. The overall energy change in the world, and from China and to China, and how that affects the world. Because China is a huge country. I've actually been, this was before the pandemic, but I'd been to Wuhan, China. I had a layover there. And so we had a card that jumped out, which is, for me, often a sign that it's an important card. So, interesting. So the card that jumped out for China is the Knight of Wands. And so I think this is a very powerful creative energy. And a lot of the energy I talk about with wands is imagination, but it's also about frames and reality tunnels and filter bubbles and the way of seeing the world. So I think the Knight card is definitely a push out and a lunge into the world of the Chinese energy and their perspective on the world, which is, I don't try to say one perspective is better than another. But that is a perspective too. That the idea that this kind of green meme that all points of view have their validity at different levels. And but I think it's there's a lot of interesting things about Chinese culture. It's not perfect like every culture. Let's see, Lisa, you have a comment? I think you would like show. Oh, the dragon. Actually, I was thinking Chinese New Year's coming up. I can't remember which day, and it's here in Malaysia. It's a much bigger thing than in the United States, and so I'm kind of curious. This is the first time I've been in a country. Like a real Asian country during Chinese New Year. So it's interesting to see. I think we're moving into the year of the rabbit. Okay. Dragon energy. When you talk about dragon energy, is that like Chinese astrology? I don't really know much about what that would mean, or just like the general concept of the dragon. Oh, but I lost the card. The Knight of Wands. I was going to read the energy to feel it. So I think that basically that is there's this term soft power. I don't know if you guys have heard that. And it's a way of like having an influence, a way of a culture or a country having influence and power in the world without having necessarily, a billy club of violence or a threat of a military. Japan has kind of been the model for soft power for many years because they don't have. I can't remember the status of their if they're allowed to have any armed forces or if not. Not I don't remember, but essentially their influence on the world has been through their culture and their products. But also like they have a. I love Japanese films and anime and manga. It's all such a they're such a unique voice, and I mean a lot of my favorite movies are Japanese. So fire, same as Wands energy. You pulled a Wands card for time. Yeah, yeah. All right, yeah. So let's take a look at this Wand energy, this Knight of Wands energy for China. I'm just gonna close my eyes again. I encourage you to do the same because uh, when I talk about this being for China, quote unquote, it's part of you too. It's part of all these cards are part of you, and they're when something happens like China opens, that is affecting the entire world, and that's an energy that's going to pass through you as well. So this energy is not just from China; it's by witnessing it, that witness energy, you're experiencing it, and it becomes a part of you. And whether you react to it in like opposition or you accept it or kind of neutral or whatever, you're still responding to it in some way and being aware of it. So let's just take a second and see it within ourselves, like just like all these inner energies. The Hangman. I don't know if we looked at the Hangman. We should do that too after this for Ukraine. So let's take a second. Look first at Knight of Wands. Yeah, I can feel this fire energy a lot more. I think overall it's positive because even though whether you like China or you hate China, it doesn't matter because even if you're resisting China, I feel like it's like a yin yang energy that is all around the globe is reacting to it in some way, positive or negative. So I think overall, I feel like it is like a kickstart of the world energy that it will affect the economy, health, all these different things that run through us. So yeah, Knight of Wands energy. Let's look at this Hangman energy for Ukraine war, like I was talking about. Very different energy from the Wands card for me, anyways. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about this. I think I've talked enough about the Ukraine war, but uh, I'm hoping this is a very fulcrum point moment that doesn't really, it's not necessarily positive or negative. It can go in a million different directions. I'm hoping it goes positive, but it's still being played out. But I think, like I said, I'm seeing like in the next 5 to 6 weeks, something major happening there. All right. So I think that's really all I really wanted to address tonight. I think I'll do more of a proper prediction type reading next time, or maybe I won't. I don't know. I just kind of follow what seems to be relevant at the moment and what is important for me to do. Before I sign off, let me remind y'all. I keep meaning to turn this off. Wait. No. I have the super pure information in case anyone wants a reading, but it still has the coupon code. I need to turn the coupon code off because it's not valid at the moment. But I'll create a new coupon code, I think, by next time. So that's kind of my to-do list for the next time is to create a new coupon code, make sure I turn on the live stream closed captions, and yeah, those are my goals for next time. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. I think I'm biased in the sense that I want everyone to succeed and be happy and and be as free and creative and enjoying the world as much as possible. But so that is my bias. But I think as a world traveler, I see a lot of different cultures, a lot of different people, and I know people from all walks of life, all politics, from extreme right to extreme left to middle of the road, and so I like to deal with people, and just my kind of history is working in schools. I worked in public schools for like 10 years as a teacher's aide, paraprofessional. I taught English in South Korea, and having a lot of students, you kind of just learn you kind of have to be, receptive and take care of your students and not judge them, but try to help them. So that's kind of what I try and do in these readings and in life, is just not judge people and just try and help them. So hopefully this has helped anyone. And let me turn this off. So don't use this coupon code, but anyways, forget that. Yeah, I'm going to try and do these again though soon, maybe tomorrow, fingers crossed. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to wrap this one up. And oh yeah, I remember you saying you were a teacher. I didn't realize you were. That's a pretty. I can't imagine working in I worked in San Francisco public schools, but I feel like New York's public schools are a lot tougher. But San Francisco is pretty tough too. But yeah, that must be. I've been in New York several times, and it's a fascinating city. I don't know if I could live there, much less teach there. But it's oh wow, yeah. Okay, I worked as a paraprofessional, so yeah, I worked with moderate needs, special needs kids a lot, and in middle schools and high schools. So yeah, we have similar backgrounds, Lisa. Well, thank you again for showing up, and anyone who's watching this later. And yeah, I hope to see you all in the next one. Have a great night or morning or evening or wherever you are, and see you all